Hey everyone, this is Chris Mile, co-owner of Blue Box Cafe and co-host of This Week in Geek, live at the Blue Box and Disturbed podcast here on the Southgate Media Group Network. Just want to wish everyone at Next Stop Everywhere congratulations on hitting the big 100. That's an awesome accomplishment. Keep on doing some great work. And in the words of Tom Baker, would you like a jelly baby to celebrate? Thank you.
Use your powers for evil.
Your evil is mine.
Welcome back to Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. I'm Charles Skaggs, and with me as always, my partner in crime, and my partner in time for now 100 episodes. Yes, 100 episodes, can you believe it? Jesse Jackson.
Hey, Charles. Happy 100th episode to you.
And happy 100th episode to you. Hard to believe it's been an interesting ride. Let's just put it that way. It's been a fun and interesting ride.
Yes, it has. It's been wonderful. 100 episodes is nothing to sneeze at.
Nope.
And so we're really excited.
No sneezing.
No sneezing at all. Yeah, so very nice. And we have a very fun, I hope fun for the listeners, but definitely fun for us, a great episode to discuss.
Yes. So I know we had promised some special guests for this 100th episode. Unfortunately, that did not work out. But it's just going to be Jesse and me, and I hope that's okay. But why not? After all,
exactly.
After all, that's how it all started.
Absolutely.
See what I did there?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
All right, so yeah.
By the way,
yes,
Charles, do you know? And the only reason I know is I just looked it up as we're talking. Do you know when our first episode was?
Yes, it was in I believe August of 2014, if I'm not mistaken.
That is absolutely right.
Yeah. So way back in August of 2014, you and I had decided that we wanted to talk about Doctor Who. You had apparently you had talked to Rob about doing a Doctor Who podcast, and you thought yours truly, being Doctor Who obsessed as I am, might be a good co-host. So I hope 3 years later, my faith or your faith in me has been justified.
It is. There is truly no one else I'd rather talk Doctor Who with. So yeah, it's been over 3 years, 100 episodes, good stuff.
Yeah, we've obviously we started with the Capaldi era just as it was about to begin, and as a result, here we are now 3 years later, almost ready to say goodbye to Peter Capaldi as we enter a new phase in a new era of Doctor Who. With the 13th Doctor, and it almost feels like it's time for a rebirth here, and a rebirth here on Next Stop Everywhere. So I've loved these past 3 years, and I'm looking forward to the next 3 with you.
Oh, you were scaring me. You were talking about a new birth. I'm like, is Charles retiring and he hadn't told me? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a secret regeneration. No, nothing so transformative, but we'll see where it goes. But yeah, so I think I've got a couple things in mind I want to run past you to kind of freshen things up for the new era. So Nothing major, just a little more cosmetic than nothing else.
All right, that sounds great.
But just kind of teasing that for everybody.
Okay, good.
All right, so obviously, episode 100. What are we going to talk about? Well, we're going to talk about something, as promised, that it's a little different. It's not an actual Doctor Who episode, but for this episode 100, we thought we'd do something a little special. So we are going to discuss an adventure in space and time. And this was the 2013 kind of documentary TV movie. It's like a biographical movie. Written by Mark Gatiss, who has obviously written for Doctor Who and done a lot for Doctor Who. Directed by Terry McDonough. And this was essentially the story of how Doctor Who was created for television. And it's a great story and so well acted, in my opinion. And I'm looking forward to getting your thoughts on this one, Jesse.
Yeah, I was reading after I'd watched it for the second time and was kind of doing some research, and a couple people mentioned that it really was kind of a biography of William Hartnell more than it was a true origin story.
Well, we get a lot of the production into Doctor Who, and so I think it's kind of both, really.
I agree too. That's exactly what I was going to say. Is that I get this. I do feel like this is a
because we don't get Hartnell's full life here. We just get his period with Doctor Who.
Yeah, and we get a lot of snippets of how things came to be.
Right.
But I think this is truly a love letter from Mark Gatiss to the Doctor Who franchise.
Yeah.
I believe this is, and there is so much love, and there's a joy in this, but also at the end, a little bit sadness and this bittersweet that just made this so lovely. And I was so glad we revisited. It's kind of funny. We started this podcast after the 50th anniversary, so in our very timey-wimey way, we've had to gone back and looked at all the 50th anniversary things because of that.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned Gatiss. Obviously feeling this is a love letter to Doctor Who. This was something a pet project of his, I think, that he cared about for quite a long time, because as I understand it, he actually pitched this 10 years earlier for the 40th anniversary of Doctor Who in 2003. In 2003. And I guess he pitched it to BBC4, but he wasn't aware that there was even a previous attempt back in 1993 for the 30th anniversary by a guy named Kevin Davies, who pitched this. He called it, it was going to be called The Legend Begins.
Nice.
And from what I researched here, it apparently would have mixed documentary interviews with, I guess, footage from people responsible for the creation of Doctor Who. And I guess it would have been much more of a kind of like, almost like like something like out of a DVD extra.
Yeah.
But here, this is an actual like dramatic production, telling the story, and I think it's more effective this way.
Oh, absolutely! This was such a wonderful way to celebrate this 50th anniversary. So yes.
Yeah. All right. So this story features the debut of David Bradley as William Hartnell, and kind of sort of playing the first Doctor, but not officially until the upcoming 2017 Christmas special. Was Twice Upon a Time coming up, but but it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice that 4 years ago, when we got this TV movie, that they liked his performance well enough that they could bring him back 4 years later. And thankfully, David Bradley's still around to do it 4 years later, because he's obviously gone on to bigger things like Game of Thrones and The Strain, the Harry Potter films. Of course, he was already in as Filch. And he was even in a Matt Smith episode called Dinosaurs on a Spaceship as a character called Solomon. So he had already had a Doctor Who connection here.
Yeah, what's kind of funny, I'm looking at some of the trivia on the episode, and I won't go to too much of it, but you mentioned David Bradley. This film was nominated for a Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation Short Form.
Right.
And it lost to the Game of Thrones episode Reigns of Castamere, in which David Bradley plays Walter Bray.
Right, because that's where he takes out Robb Stark and his wife.
Yes.
And his pregnant wife, and
So kind of funny. He
took himself out of the running.
Exactly.
Here. Yeah. There's interestingly enough, there are a number of actors in this episode that already had previous Doctor Who connections. So let's run those down, if you wouldn't mind.
Please.
So, okay, first and foremost, we had Jessica Raine, who plays Verity Lambert, the first producer on Doctor Who, and she previously played the character Emma Grayling in the Matt Smith episode Hyde. She was the psychic, with that used the Metabolus crystal to open a gateway. So
nice.
So she's there. Brian Cox, who plays Sidney Newman, the head of BBC Drama, he was previously an Ood Elder in The End of Time, which we just talked about not too long ago.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, he did the voice, and of course he was also in major movie. He was William Stryker in X2 X-Men United. He's been in Penny Dreadful. He was the first Dr. Lecter in Manhunter. So so obviously he's got a big cred. And also we had a lot of good cameos from previous Doctor Who stars. We had William Russell, who played first Doctor companion Ian Chesterton. He plays Harry, who is the older gentleman who kind of greets people as they pull up to the BBC office, and he's kind of sassy. He's got a mustache. He's kind of dressed like a bellman, a doorman.
Yes.
So that's William Russell, and Carol Ann Ford plays a character named Joyce, and she was obviously played Susan Foreman in the original Doctor Who, and Joyce is a character who. She's like a mom who runs out into the street to tell her kids that Doctor Who's coming on.
Yes.
So I thought that was a nice nod. We had Nicholas Briggs, who does the voice of the Cybermen and the Daleks in the modern era. Well, he plays Peter Hawkins, who did the voice of the Cybermen and the Daleks in the original William Hartnell era. So I thought that was a very nice touch. We had Mark Eden, who played BBC controller Donald Baverstock. He was the star. He was Marco Polo in the William Hartnell episode Marco Polo, which was Doctor Who's fourth story. So that's a nice nod to bring an original Hartnell actor back. We had Jeff Rawl as associate producer Mervyn Pinfield, and he played Plantagenet in the Peter Davison episode Frontios. And he was also in an episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures, and he played Amos Diggory, father of Cedric Diggory in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Nice.
Yep, so I thought that was good. Reece Shearsmith, who plays Patrick Troughton in this story, he was the villainous Gagan Rasmussen in the episode Sleep No More, which a lot of people don't like, including myself. That was the Peter Capaldi story, which was kind of a a found footage episode, if you recall.
Yes, I remember that one.
Yeah, and then we had Ian Hallard, who played director Richard Martin, one of the directors on Doctor Who. back in the day. He plays Alan Adale in the Mark Gatiss written episode Robot of Sherwood.
Yes.
So a lot, and of course we had Matt Smith appearing as himself in a wonderful cameo that is pretty much the moment that kind of like this. Of all the things that go in this episode, that's the one that kind of gets me to see Matt Smith there, and we'll talk more about that.
Yeah.
Later on, we had Jean Marsh, who played First Doctor companion Sarah Kingdom, and Annika Wills, who played First Doctor companion Polly. They kind of cameo in Verity, the party that they throw for Verity Lambert when she's leaving. You can kind of see them they do a good shot of them kind of raising their glasses in celebration during the toast.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for them, that's where they are. So yeah, lots of Doctor Who connections here with this story, and I thought it was really cool. And so thanks for being patient with me as I ran that down, because I thought it was kind of important.
I totally agree. They were all, some more prevalent than others, but it was really nice that they were able to incorporate so much of the Doctor Who past in the celebration of its beginnings.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, so let's dive right into our first topic, the Day of the Doctor. And of course, this is the creation of Doctor Who, the development, with Sidney Newman pitching the idea to Verity Lambert, who is someone he kind of spotted for her talent and what he referred to as her piss and vinegar, and brings her aboard to be the first Doctor Who showrunner and help get the series off the ground. So, and then of course the casting of William Hartnell as the first Doctor. So, I want to get your thoughts on that, Jesse.
So I liked this a lot. I thought that, you get a great introduction to Sidney, and he's coming in from the BBC from a rival network, but it's a lesser network.
Yeah, ITV, yeah.
Yeah, because of, BBC.
It's so dominant, yes.
Yeah. And, he wants to bring in speculative fiction.
Yeah.
He wants to bring in fantasy, sci-fi.
Because it's what the kids are into these days.
Right, because they need to keep – they're losing audience between, he talks about the different shows. And you embrace how much of a salesperson he is and what a big personality is. And the idea that in this whole, movie, you can see how this is a second-class citizen, in the world of TV world, but they believed in it and they made it something more. I thought it was a great scene when Verity, and I may be jumping ahead on your topics,
right.
But where Verity is arguing about, that the Daleks aren't just BEMs, bug-eyed monsters. And they talk about the in depth of that they are, the world has been destroyed. Now they've had to get behind walls and take care of everything. And there is this, just like the original Star Trek, they were trying to tell strong stories, not just, and don't get me wrong, I love me some Lost in Space and Land of Giants,
right?
But it wasn't just a kind of serial, let's have a monster and then we'll jump on. They were trying to tell a little bit story. So I love this. I love the pitch of trying to convince Hartnell why he would be good at this.
Right. Because he was initially resistant to the idea.
Yeah, and the idea, you see how gruff he is with his granddaughter and how he didn't interact well with children. And then you see in this role how it helped him find a way.
Right.
He embraced that role and began to love it. So that was just a wonderful idea of how everything came together. like, okay, well, and in a lot of ways, this is lightning in a bottle, right? You kind of, okay, well, these credits will look really cool, and
Sidney wasn't even sold on this.
Exactly.
He hated the credits.
Yeah.
But Verity is like, just was so adamant and passionate about it.
Yeah.
Like, she believed in it. She thought this was the game changer.
And another scene that, in the origins, when she's just on and on about, I need a set, I need what my TARDIS is going to look like.
Right.
And the guy like, okay, fine. And then just all of a sudden threw together a thimble and a
spool of thread.
Yeah.
And you just kind of set stuff on top and then punched out some holes from perforated tiles or whatever, and then kind of stacked it beside it.
Yeah, and said, there, that's your TARDIS.
Yep.
And the genius of it is just amazing. So I loved the journey that we see William Hartnell do. We see how they did not shy away from that. Times people said he could be very difficult to work with.
Right.
But then they also show like that great scene where he bites off the actress who plays Susan, and then later sends her flowers and
to apologize.
You see that he was a flawed person like all of us. And I read a lot about him after I read this, and he gets a lot of mixed reviews from people. A lot of people say he was difficult to work with. Other people said that he was absolutely lovely.
Right.
So, and I think the movie did a good job of showing both sides.
Yeah, I know that with what I know of Carol Ann Ford, who played Susan, she had always talked over the years about how, William Hartnell could be difficult, but, he kind of was almost like a grandfather to her in real life. And so they had this kind of close relationship, which is why it obviously affects Hartnell in this story when Carol Ann Ford leaves the show and goes on to do something more than just scream at monsters, as she puts it.
Yeah, I thought that was really well played. You could see the sadness, and one of the great storytelling effects they did is they're in the kind of courtyard, in front of the statue, picture them drinking champagne each time the cast changed and things changed. So yeah, that was great to see.
Yep, totally agree. All right. Anything else about this before we move on?
No.
All right. So let's move on to our second topic, Genesis of the Daleks. And, of course, that's the title of a Tom Baker story. And this is, of course, the genesis of the Daleks, how they were created. And we had, obviously you mentioned that Verity Lambert had to kind of try to massage, not literally, but massage, Sidney Newman into, and convince him to go ahead with the production of the Daleks, the very first Dalek story, because it was something that he just was so against what his idea of television should be. And you mentioned that he didn't want what he called BEMs, no bug-eyed monsters. And technically, the Daleks are kind of like bug-eyed monsters. I mean, they're just this kind of gooey alien inside a casing. But after reading the script by Terry Nation, he kind of realized it seemed like they did a point of showing Sidney Newman basically how the themes were important more than the monster. The kind of jackbooted Nazi parallel with the Daleks, with them going around exterminating those that were not like them, and eventually it won him over.
Yeah, I love the idea. You see the Dalek, and one of my lines, I'll go ahead and use it now.
Yeah.
The cameraman going, "What the hell's that? A sink plunger and an egg whisk?"
Right.
Oh, well, if they can't take over the universe, they might at least be able to whip up a decent omelet. But then you see Verity and the director, watching the footage, and they're like, they're really scary. And they are scary. And I think at times we, from a modern perspective, need to remember that, the Daleks have now become an iconic image. So, people know what they were. People who are non-Doctor Who fans, they may get the name wrong, but they recognize it. And to see that, but you can imagine the first time and that voice and
just the fact that they look so unlike anything that else.
Yes.
It wasn't just some guy in a rubber mask or something. It was, just something that looked completely alien.
Absolutely.
And they do a really nice job, I thought, of capturing how the Daleks kind of got a hold of everyone's imagination, and how just that the way they knew the show was going to actually work was when, like, Verity is on a bus and some kids come on the bus and they're going around going, "Exterminate, exterminate," and she sees how it's actually capturing the kids' imagination, and that's like, we've got something here.
Yeah, I love that scene. One of the things I've talked about other times is, there is a scene that is very truthful in almost any musical biography where the band hears their song on the radio for the first time.
Right.
And I have heard, like, Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys talked about that, he was so excited he almost had, threw up. And, and there's other things. And so that was that scene where, in the wild, so to speak, all of a sudden she's got a kid that's actually quoting and play acting as her character is just, you're just amazing, right? You just go, yes, that is.
And there was a great scene where Hartnell's granddaughter comes in dressed in one of the first, like, prototype, like, Dalek Halloween costumes or whatever, and she's got like a kind of lopsided Dalek head on her, and like, it looks like like a plastic sheet and stuff like that, and she gets to hold out like the sink plunger and the egg whisk or whatever, and go around going exterminate. So it's pretty looking back, like you mentioned this, that here we are in 2017. It's easy to be jaded by the Daleks, that they look kind of silly maybe, but again, at the time, this was just something completely different, and you just have to kind of keep that in perspective. That as far as the '60s went, this was pretty cutting edge for back then.
Absolutely. And then also when you figure out it isn't just, they aren't just monsters. As she tried to share, this is something that is really scary and a little bit complex. So yeah, well done.
Yeah, I thought so too. All right, anything else?
No, I thought it was great, and I think it was some iconic scenes where they had the Daleks green because it's filmed in black and white,
right?
And then them going across the London Bridge. It was just really well done.
Yeah, that was like, I think you had seen them, like, my Instagram pictures or stuff when I was over in England, and I was recreating that shot when I was standing on Westminster Bridge in this very same fashion. That being able that kind of angle where you get to see Big Ben and the Parliament building in the shot as the the Daleks come across, and that was from the Dalek invasion of Earth, the series' 10th story.
Yeah.
And I love these little recreation moments throughout this show.
Yeah,
and I know that Gatiss wanted to do even more that just they didn't have the budget for, but like here you'd see like a Marco Polo shot, you'd see a footage from the Edge of Destruction here, you'd see the Dalek invasion of Earth, and I just thought it was great.
Yeah, this was not available on demand anywhere. So I went ahead and picked up the DVD Blu-ray combo.
Right.
And there were a few.
I thought it was on iTunes.
I never think about ordering from iTunes.
Okay.
So yeah. But yeah, so I just ordered the DVD and was great. But one of the extras was the scenes of them, of the actors playing the Doctor Who scenes.
Yeah.
And it was really nice. In other words, I
haven't watched that yet.
It's worth. Yeah, it's worth watching because they show that.
Is it like a side by side comparison or?
No. It's just them showing it, and you can actually see in the background the doors opening.
Yeah.
They keep opening, and them showing they're actually as if they were filming those scenes.
Oh, okay.
So it's really well done.
Yeah, I needed to check that out because that was one of the things I was just like, oh, I wish I had time, and I need to watch this.
Yeah, it is definitely worth seeing.
All right. Okay. Third topic.
Yes.
The Edge of Destruction. And this is a William Hartnell era story. This is actually Doctor Who's third story. And this is I want to talk about Hartnell's declining health here. And as we lead up to where he's ultimately replaced. And you had mentioned how, like, after Doctor Who took off as a series, the fame that William Hartnell got. Like, he could just sit. There's a great scene of him sitting in a park bench with his wife Heather, and the two of them are get approached by a young boy looking for his autograph, and at first he's like he starts to be a little resistant, but then he has the boy come over and he kind of gets into character a little bit for the boy. And there's a moment there where, like, he's talking to the boy and he has to be reminded by Heather the boy's name. Even just after he had just been introduced to the boy.
Right.
So just little nods, like, little warning signs like that, of how he would have trouble remembering his lines, and that's scattered throughout the story. And just that you find out that apparently he had, like, arterial sclerosis, and apparently because of his, like, years of smoking and drinking, which he continues to do throughout his time on Doctor Who, even after this diagnosis, because that was the 60s. That's what you did.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it becomes all the more tragic, I think. So I want to get your thoughts on how they handled his declining health.
Yeah, I thought they did a great job of showing that, and
Hartnell's love, or Heather Hartnell's love of him.
Yes, she was an absolutely the actress who played her was absolutely lovely.
Yeah, Lesley Manville.
She so devoted to him, and he devoted to her. Grumpiness, but everything, and you see David Bradley, who is considerably older than William Hartnell was playing at this time,
right?
Plays it wonderful, and that at the beginning, the very arrogance. I don't even know if I want to do this show, and then being his complaints about so much words, and I could just do it with a look.
Yeah, he was trying to convince everybody to just reduce his amount of lines because he knew he was having trouble remembering his lines.
And then when he sits down with Sydney, and you could tell that he really could have used Verity at this time, but she has moved on. And, Sydney tell him, Doctor Who's continuing, but you aren't.
Yeah.
That's
kind of
heartbreaking.
that's what I want to get into next.
Okay, yeah. But yes, they showed very much that his health is failing, his mind is failing, and it truly was, there was no other way to do this. He could no longer keep up the pace. They kind of signed, and when they bring in the rewritten scripts and talking about how much they're costing them,
right?
Because
the reshoots, and it was almost becoming like a numbers game.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
Like, hey, we can't keep doing all these reshoots, and that they felt the need they had to do something.
Yeah,
but yeah, so yeah, it was. I thought David Bradley just did such a great job with Hartnell, like, just times where he'd be looking in the mirror and realizing that, knowing in the back of his head that he was having so many problems, and it was, that he's having to he's scrambling to keep this secret from everybody, that, oh, everything's fine, everybody needs me. There's a part where he's sitting in bed with Heather trying to go over his lines, and he tells her, look, like, all these people, all these 100 people or whatever depend on me. You can't have Doctor Who without Doctor Who, so I have to do this. He feels like he feels this weight, this responsibility on him. And,
I agree with that.
Yeah, and it kind of blurs into, like, just he loves the fame, and it's just it's all the more tragic, in my opinion. And it's just a great job by Bradley.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. It is, and also he's very, he's very confident too that, well, as you mentioned, you can't have Doctor Who without Doctor Who.
Right.
And so
he basically considered himself irreplaceable.
Exactly.
And there was that one moment early on that we didn't talk about, but he had gotten a copy of what's called a Doctor Who annual, which is what these books that would come out to kind of like were be produced to almost like a media tie-in product, and they would have his face on there, and he held it up, and it would kind of like gesture back and forth, comparing his face to the face on the book cover, and going, not replaceable, eh? And
yeah, you could tell he really, he was proud of this, and he, after a career of playing, heavies and things like that, I think he was very happy to be in this kind of role,
right? And
a beloved role.
Yeah, and like you said, it helped him connect with his granddaughter.
Yes.
So yeah, it was kind of nice because at first they showed him he didn't know how to relate to her.
Yes.
And now after all this like interactions with kids, I love the scene in the park where there's a group of kids, he's talking to them or whatever, and he's kind of leading them around like a Pied Piper almost. And then he kind of he teasingly scares them. By trying to listen, it's the Daleks, and he does like exterminate with his hands, and they take off running and squealing, and just getting a big kick out of that.
They have,
yeah. So I think he loved being seen as this grandfather, even though he starts off being a reluctant grandfather in real life.
Yes.
So I thought that was interesting. All right, so fourth and final topic, Journey's End. And that's, of course, a 10th Doctor story title. William Hartnell's exit. And you had already kind of alluded to this before, where Hartnell gets called into Sidney Newman's office, and where he's basically told, look, Doctor Who is going to continue, but you're not. And I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's I would have liked, and this is where I think I would have. There's things I wanted to see. I wanted to see a fictionized version of the quote unquote writer's room coming up with regeneration.
That would have been nice. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's not the purpose of the movie. But I would have loved to have seen that. It was so sad.
We could have at least had a scene about it, like just a short 5-minute scene or whatever. Them trying to figure this out would have been nice.
Yeah. It's very sad as we watch this going, okay, he's feeling, he's already feeling concerned. He just can't do it. The pressure's too much. And then to have them, well, we're going to have you, we need you, but we need Doctor Who to go. And he handles it with such a pro. When he sees who they're thinking about, yes, that's a good choice.
Right, Patrick Troughton,
Yeah, and then they later, he tells, he kind of gives his blessing to Patrick,
well, Patrick talks about how scared stiff he is.
Yeah, and he says, hey, I told him you were the only one who could do this, which was just very sweet of him to do.
Right.
And you could see he loves the series. The series is something very important to him. Versus a couple of other doctors got bitter and like, hey, I don't need to be back for a regeneration. We will not name names.
Right, exactly.
So I just
it's just just different personalities, actors.
Yeah.
Just some people react to it differently. And thankfully Hartnell was a professional about it. But obviously at home, that's where the true man comes through, because he's alone with his wife and he breaks down. And he does I don't know if this is a deliberate nod to David Tennant's farewell, which is again why China chose Journey's End here. Where he says, I don't want to go, which of course was Tennant's final words in The End of Time.
I totally believe that was deliberate.
Yeah.
Because this had already, we had already seen that. And I think it was a perfect use of him saying that.
Right.
Because, he didn't want to go. And when I thought about this movie, Charles, I always smile and I talk about how wonderful it was and how much I enjoyed it. But rewatching it this weekend, I forgot the sadness of the end.
Yeah, it's a sad story for Hartnell, but it's a great story for Doctor Who.
Yes, and I did like the fact that as short as a run he had, he set the foundation of this beloved series.
Right.
And I certainly do think that, Patrick Troughton has a lot to be keeping it going, because he was able to sell regeneration.
Right.
But, I love the fact that a lot of older Whovians, Hartnell is their doctor, and they love him. And so this reminded me, and I was just I was sad but very happy about the legacy.
Yeah, and it just shows you get the importance, because obviously Hartnell created the role, really. He defined the role. And it was just Patrick Troughton that showed, hey, somebody else could do it differently. And that's what enabled the show to continue. But, like you said, he was the foundation.
Yes.
And he was the foundation that everybody else has built upon over the years.
Yes.
And over the decades, thankfully. So, yeah, again, I thought David Bradley just does such a great job here.
And
He's so good and so mesmerizing. You just get sucked in watching this tragic um, end to the role that changed Hartnell's life.
and I have a question, which is the easiest question ever
Yeah.
to ask you.
Right.
Watching this, does this not amp up your anticipation to seeing Bradley have a chance to be the first Doctor in this special?
Well, again, this is why I chose this story in this
Yeah.
particular time. If you kind of connect the dots here, because this is.
Yeah.
I thought this was just with the 100th anniversary or 100th episode coming up and Twice Upon a Time coming up, that it seemed now was the perfect time to do this, and it just builds. So if you're looking forward to Twice Upon a Time, which I hope you are, go watch Adventure in Space and Time first, because it'll just make you appreciate Bradley's performance and give you just a taste of what he's going to be like in Twice Upon a Time.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like me, you've watched the Little Children in Need little snippet multiple times, and it's just
spoilers if you haven't, because
it is just the three main characters. Gatiss is speaking up, playing. It appears an officer.
This World War I officer. Yes.
Yeah. And then David Bradley as the first Doctor, and them going into the TARDIS is just beautiful.
Right.
It just is beautiful in every way.
Yeah. I kind of wonder if that's going to be that World War I officer is going to be the Brigadier's father.
You've brought that up, and I think that makes a lot of sense. I also think how
because he closely resembles the Brigadier, but the time doesn't work right for it to be the Brigadier.
Yeah, I love the idea, right, where you said World War I, and Capaldi's like, spoilers.
Yep.
This was the perfect hors d'oeuvre. We're recording this on December 3rd, so we've got 22 days to wait, and I am just looking forward to it so much.
Yeah. Now, one thing before we wrap up the discussion here of Adventure in Space and Time, I wanted to talk about the scene more with Matt Smith.
Yes.
Because it's a great moment where Hartnell's standing at the console, and it's from, obviously, his final story, The 10th Planet. And he's about to film his regeneration scene. And he's coming to terms with, this is his last performance as the Doctor, at least until 10 years, or like 7 years later, when he returns for the Three Doctors in a reduced role, but he's still there as the first Doctor. So he does get to do the first Doctor one more time after his final story. And he looks over and he sees Matt Smith, who was the Doctor at the time, as a nod to, like, hey, what I'm doing here is going to last. This show is going to have a future. And I thought that was just a lovely moment.
Yeah,
and it was one of those that kind of gets you all choked up inside watching it. At least for me.
It did to me too, because this is not the first Doctor looking at the 11th Doctor, though you certainly could make that parallel. But I saw it as
Matt Smith looking at William Hartnell
and going, the Doctor is dead. Long live the Doctor.
Right.
You will live on forever. And every time they do a montage of the Doctor, he starts. His famous, just wonderful speech, "Goodbye to Susan."
Yeah, that's
played all the time.
Yeah, that's what closes the movie. Is the actual Hartnell doing the lines from the Dalek Invasion of Earth, where he says goodbye to Susan.
Yeah.
Now, earlier in the TV movie, Bradley recreates that moment, but obviously the original with Hartnell, it's much more powerful, I think, as an ending.
Yeah, and wasn't that a great point when they yell cut and the director was like, "That was beautiful, Bill."
Right.
Because back then they were still trying to figure out the kind of mix, and so Ian was the man of action,
right?
And the doctor was the wise one, and then later you have your star.
Susan was the troublemaker who would, like the brilliant girl who gets into trouble,
right?
As Cindy Newman presented it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I just overall I thought this was just a great production.
Absolutely.
It's not perfect in my mind. I didn't like some of the actors they got playing the previous actors. Like I didn't like the actor that they got for Susan. I didn't feel that she was Carol Ann Ford enough.
Okay.
And just little things like that. But and I didn't like Reese Shearsmith as Patrick Troughton. I didn't think it was Troughton-esque enough, in my opinion.
It's a very small role.
Yeah.
I do agree. It did not look. Yeah. He did not feel like him.
Right. Exactly. So and I get it. It was a reduced role, so it's something I can overlook. But it just kind of takes away a little bit. I wish I would have at least liked to have someone more Troughton-esque, because it's kind of easy to do that impression a little bit.
Yeah. Jessica Raine as Verity Lambert is absolutely amazing. Sacha Dhawan as Waris Hussein, were amazing.
Yeah. Those are the only two people I really have problems with here. Otherwise, I think it's a great casting.
You could maybe say Brian Cox choose the scenery a little too much as Sidney Newman.
But that's kind of Sidney Newman, I think. That was because he's going around doing his catchphrase, pop, pop, pop.
Yeah, pop, pop, pop. Yes.
Yeah,
so,
like he's this big, larger-than-life figure. So I was okay with that.
Good.
All right. Anything else about this episode before we move on to favorite lines?
No, I'm good.
All right. So why don't you go ahead? What you have some favorite lines, I'm guessing?
Yeah, I've only got I'd already told you my Dalek one.
Yeah.
And we've already mentioned the I don't want to go. So the only one I'm going to bring up, and I do think the C.S. Lewis meets H.G. Wells meets Father Christmas. That's the Doctor.
Yeah.
And
which is a great description.
It is. It is so beautiful. And I just, what a great simplification for that time and place, and how to tell Bill, okay, I get what this character is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked, one of the lines I liked was Sidney Newman, when he's brought in by Verity to kind of reassure William Hartnell about the role. And he's telling Hartnell, not blessed? What the hell are you talking about? Of course you're blessed. You're going to be Doctor Who, aren't you? Perfect choice for my little show. Well, my idea anyway. That's what I do. Ideas. One day I came into ITV. I got an idea, I said. The Avengers. What's it about, they said. How the hell should I know? But I said, but what a title.
Yes.
Well, obviously Stan Lee thought so as well, because he used it for the Avengers comic book. But,
absolutely. By the way, young Jesse Jackson was very disappointed the first time on a PBS channel he turned to the Avengers and did not see Thor, the Hulk, or Iron Man, or Captain America.
Well, slightly older Charles Skaggs enjoyed watching, flipping over to the Avengers and seeing Emma Peel play.
Absolutely.
So I was okay with that. But
yes.
So anyway, that's neither here nor there. We'll save that for an Avengers podcast, I guess.
Okay.
All right. Another exchange I liked was between Carol Ann Ford and William Hartnell, where he's kind of she's telling him that she's leaving, and she says, "It's time to move on, Bill. There's lots of other things I want to do." And Hartnell's like, well, of course. And Carol Ann says, and there's more to life than screaming at nasty monsters. And Hartnell, I thought, rather cleverly replies, that's no way to talk about me.
Yes, very funny.
Yeah, so I thought that was good. And then, you have any other lines?
No, I'm good.
Okay, last one I have is, they're on the set of the 10th Planet, and Patrick Troughton's introducing himself to William Hartnell as they're about to pass the torch. And and Troughton says, well then, who's who? I won't lie to you, I'm scared stiff. And Hartnell replies, oh, you'll be fine. In fact, you'll be wonderful. I told them, there's only one man in England who can take over. And Troughton replies, oh, couldn't they get him?
Yes,
Which was
very
great.
good.
Which is very self-deprecating. And,
right.
Which I thought was a perfect way for him to handle that. So, lots of great lines and just great production. So what's your rating on this one?
Well, I give this, I actually am going to give it 10 out of 10 smoking cigarettes.
Okay.
It had a little bit of the Mad Men, and I do know that is the time and place of this is. So a lot of smoking in this movie, though, which is appropriate. But yeah, I just think this is, I just think this is lovely. There is everything. The Five-ish Doctor reboot and the actual 50th anniversary special was a Doctor Who hat trick, if we mix our metaphors, and it was just perfection.
Yeah. I'm going to just knock off a half a point because of the aforementioned casting that I wasn't a fan of.
Yes.
But it's negligible. I gave it 9.5 original TARDIS consoles.
Ooh, nice.
So I really like this one as well. If it would just been, like I said, if it just had a better Troughton and a better Carol Ann Ford, I would have given this a 10 out of 10.
I also wanted to, there's things that really don't matter, but if you could ask, I'm like, why did they always go to eat someplace that needed chopsticks? Was that their favorite? Everyone loved that, Chinese place. I don't know.
Maybe it's nearby. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. I never noticed that, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah. What's also really funny is, the first episode, Sydney hates it. It's such a, it tells a great story. It has great characters. There is a lot of emotion in it. We get to talk about that, one of the first female producers.
Yeah, which was very, obviously in the 60s. That was a big game changer.
And the first director who went on to do great success. Yeah, Waris Hussein. Waris Hussein was from an Indian background. So, just absolutely wonderful about all this. You do kind of feel like this band of misfits get together and made something beautiful.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Hey, Next Stop Everywhere. This is John and Roxy from Passion Nerdly and our podcasts Home Traveler and Dice Voyeurs.
And we're wishing you a congratulations on your 100th episode.
100 episodes. We could only hope to hit that many.
Might take a while.
Just a little bit. But you guys are doing great.
Best wishes.
All right. So I do have a Reverse the Polarity segment.
Ah, okay.
But it's going to be something that should be pretty obvious, I would think.
All right.
So I'm just going to reverse the polarity back to 1963, November 23rd, 1963, with An Unearthly Child, the very first story from Doctor Who from Season 1 in 1963, written by Anthony Coburn. And most of you should know this story by now, so there's probably no reason for me to go into it in detail, but essentially we have the episode beginning in a junkyard in contemporary London. A couple of school teachers are suspicious about their student named Susan. She seems to know more about history than she should, or she seems to have some future knowledge or whatever. She doesn't. So they're kind of curious about her. They follow her to the I Am Foreman junkyard, scrapyard, and they see her go inside a police box, and they're kind of wondering what's going on, and they end up they're confronted by Susan's grandfather, and see they feel that something shady is going on, so they burst inside the police box, and Ian is the first one inside and is stunned to see this time machine inside that's bigger on the inside. And that obviously sets them off an adventure when Hartnell activates the controls, and they take off, and they go to like 100,000 BC, and the first adventure of Doctor Who. So it's obviously I think the first episode of this story is the one that really matters. The first part of 4. I was not really a big fan of the cavemen part. But the very end of episode 4 is also important because that's where they end up going on their second adventure to Skaro, home of the Daleks, for the very first adventure with the Daleks in the next story. So definitely historically important, and that first episode is just, that first part of the story is just perfection as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, what a way to start, and how much what they wanted to do, and to think that it's been over 50 years and, we're still watching the Doctor. You've gone through now so many, episodes and so many great stories, and it all just started with, a couple of school teachers going there. And it's so much. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and if you do get the Blu-ray or DVD set, like Jesse was talking about, it actually has a copy of An Unearthly Child inside. So you can actually watch that story if you don't already have it. I highly recommend it.
Yes. Another thing that's really good is the, how much, there's a couple other nice, the deleted scenes aren't really worth it, but there is a lot of, they talk about the theme music and different things. So it's a really good deep disc. The other thing I wanted to mention, Charles, is I'm catching up on the Orville, and this week they had a Doctor Who reference, though they got it wrong.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, but Seth, there's an anomaly. There is a pocket in space that is bigger on the inside.
Yeah. And
Seth MacFarlane's character says, so like the Doctor Who telephone booth. And someone else says, and like Snoopy's doghouse.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it. Technically it's a police box, but it is it says telephone. So, we'll give them a little bit of a break.
Yeah. I think it was just trying to explain this to American audiences, but most of the American audiences that watch the Orville probably understand what a police box is.
Yes, absolutely.
I would hope so anyway. If not, they're not sci-fi geeks. I'm sorry.
Yes. It was a nice shout out.
Yep. All right. So I do have some feedback for our 100th episode.
Perfect.
So I'll go ahead and read that. First is from Holly from Wisconsin, who writes in, "Hey guys, was feeling under the weather and didn't have a chance to send feedback about the 5 Doctors. Well, I'm sorry, Holly. I hope you're feeling better. And I love this multi-Doctor story, and this was the actual first episode that introduced me to Classic Who. Oh, so this is her first episode. So she says, happy 100th episodes. Here's to 100 more. That's a lot of Doctor Who discussion.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. What's to say about this movie? I absolutely loved it. The casting was awesome, and seeing the story of how Doctor Who came to be through this movie was fantastic. I see what you did there, Holly.
Absolutely.
Makes you really appreciate the history of the show that much more. Plus the little nod to the current series at the time of Doctor Who, I'm guessing that she means Matt Smith, was a nice touch.
I agree.
I wasn't expecting it when I first watched it. Well, I'll wrap it up here. Once again, congratulations on 100 episodes, Holly from Wisconsin.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Holly. Much appreciated. And then we also have Paul Beck writing in from Australia.
Nice.
And Paul sends us a good-sized little email here. He says, wow, Charles and Jesse, 100 episodes young. How time flies when you're having fun, smiley face. Got to wish both of you congratulations. It's been a great ride. And you have both delivered a Doctor Who podcast that is informative and great fun to listen to, and I can't wait for the next 100. Everybody wants us to do 100 more, Jesse. No pressure
Absolutely. No.
there. So as you continue on this journey, just want to thank both of you for all the hard work you put in. Well, you're very welcome, Paul. We enjoy doing that.
Yes, we do.
And for including us in your including us emailers in your podcast, giving us a voice as well. Much appreciated. Now, as for an adventure in space and time, what a great show. Mark Gatiss delivers with a show that is both sentimental and touching, showing an ailing William Hartnell dealing with his work on Doctor Who. I don't care if some of the show is inaccurate. What's the saying? Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. And that's exactly what this is. I love the recreations of costumes and events from that era, especially the iconic shot of the Daleks on Westminster Bridge. Just brilliant. Who doesn't get a bit teary-eyed with a poetic license of Hartnell envisioning Matt Smith's Doctor? Totally agree with you, Paul. As for David Bradley, what a great job he did capturing the essence of Hartnell. Can't wait for the Christmas special. Neither can we.
Exactly.
I would love to see Gatiss do a sequel showing behind the scenes of how the show was brought back for the modern era. Ooh, that's a great idea.
That is a great idea.
Yeah, somebody needs to get that to Mark Gatiss, because, yeah, that needs to happen. I would like to see that as well. Sending my kindest regards, as always, all the way from Australia, Paul. And we get the birthday cake emoji. And P.S. have sent a photo of my wife, Linda with a Y, by the way, and I celebrating your 100th episode's achievement. So Paul was kind enough to send in a picture of him with Linda and a small TARDIS and a figure of K9. So,
yay!
So I'm going to post that on our Facebook page, Doctor Who, or Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who Podcast Facebook page. So cheers to Paul and Linda for sending that in. So
yeah, perfect.
And thanks to Paul and Holly for the great feedback, and thanks for the well wishes on the 100 episodes.
Absolutely.
You guys are why we do this podcast. Obviously, we couldn't do this without you. So, and that goes to all of you out there in podcast land as well, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. This is Charles and I would do this every week, even if no one listens.
Yeah.
But our lovely brides may not be putting up with us as much if we weren't doing this for a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So if nothing else, you guys listening to us helps keep us out of trouble. So we appreciate
exactly.
it. Yeah. So
yes.
Thanks for that. All right. So next time on Next Stop Everywhere, now there was one regeneration story we haven't talked about yet.
Okay.
And after watching An Adventure in Space and Time, I think you probably might guess what that is. And factoring in, again, Twice Upon a Time, the Christmas special coming up. So connecting all those dots, you probably realize that we're going to talk about in episode 101, here we go again, The 10th Planet.
Yes.
The final story of William Hartnell's era, which is showcased here in Adventure in Space and Time, which has the first appearance of the Cybermen.
Yay!
And we have companions Ben and Polly, who are also featured, although played by different actors, in Twice Upon a Time. So this story, The 10th Planet, is obviously going to be very important to Twice Upon a Time. So I thought this would be the perfect story to watch just before we get into Twice Upon a Time.
That sounds perfect. I love it.
So come on back, y'all, for 101 of Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. And in the meantime, if you would like to be like Paul and Holly, would love to drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Please write to us at nextstopeverywheresmg@gmail.com. Don't forget the SMG. And nextstopsmg on Twitter. You can follow us there for our Next Stop Everywhere Twitter account. please do so. We'd love to have you follow us. And the aforementioned Facebook page, Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast, where again we'll post Paul's and Linda's picture, and anybody else's picture that sends theirs along, we'd be happy to post that as well. So feel free, and we'd love to hear from our listeners. We'd love to know more about you guys, and please tell your friends about us.
Absolutely. We would like to remind you that we do have Next Stop Everywhere T-shirts that both Charles and I are wearing today.
Yes, we are.
If you want to be one of the cool kids that has a Next Stop Everywhere T-shirt, well, hey, we have links on our Facebook page and also on a certain blog of mine, which I'll get into in a moment. Yes. Please check them out. They would make lovely Christmas presents. And you could, and then when you get it, send us a picture of you in the shirt. That would be really, really nice.
Yeah, it would be cool. We just would love that. And if nothing else, you get to be one of the cool kids.
Absolutely.
Well, actually, you're already one of the cool kids. You listen to this podcast, but you'll be even cooler by getting the shirt. So
yes.
Yeah.
I can be reached at Jesse Jackson DFW on Twitter. I am also on Facebook, Jesse Jackson. You can reach out to me there. You can hear me talk about music on Set Listing Bruce. We've got this week I've got an episode coming out from a fan from Russia, and so so kind of talking about that. And Charles, I think also that there was a special crossover on the Fandom Zone that's coming out shortly.
Yes. So before I get into my usual nonsense, I want to let everybody know that if you don't know already, that Jesse was kind enough to join us once again to fill in for Karen on the Fandom Zone podcast, where friend of the show Karen Lindsay and I talk about all the comic book shows on TV, and we discussed the CW superhero shows, Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Arrow, leading up to the Crisis on Earth X crossover. And Jesse was kind enough to join us for that. That was episode 123. If you'd like to check out Jesse's episode of the Fandom Zone, I would appreciate it immensely. And it's always great to have Jesse on. We'd have him on more often if he'd let us. So
I know. Got to work that out.
But obviously he's got a lot of things on his plate. So
yes.
And there's a little side project we keep talking about that we need to do ourselves.
Yes.
So I understand, but he's always welcome to come back. So please check him out there.
Thank you.
And we loved having him on there. We'll have him back anytime he wants.
Yeah. So this week, you and Karen, thank you. We'll welcome. Be talking about the big crossover.
Yeah, Crisis on Earth X. Yep.
Which we kept talking about when we weren't supposed to.
Yeah. So you kind of got to sort of talk about it a little bit.
Yes, we did. So
because it had already aired while we recorded. So yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about where people can find you.
Yeah. So obviously I'm at Charles Skaggs on the Twitter machine, at Charles Skaggs on the Instagram, Google Plus for all you crazy kids on the Google Plus, Facebook, of course, at Charles Skaggs, and my blog of geeky things.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn Good Coffee and Hot, where I talk about Next Stop Everywhere and Doctor Who and all the comic book shows and my other two podcasts that I do, The Fandom Zone and Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast, where I talk about Twin Peaks with Zan Sprouse. And every Next Stop Everywhere post that I do on Damn Good Coffee has a link to the aforementioned Next Stop Everywhere t-shirt. So if you're having trouble finding the link, you can also check it out there. But again, you can find it on our Facebook page at Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. So here we are, 100 episodes. It's been a long road since August of 2014. We've gone through the Capaldi era, and we're going to go through the Jodie Whittaker era. And here we go again. And Jesse, I couldn't ask for a better podcast partner.
Absolutely, Charles. I agree. It is always a joy talking Doctor Who with you. Ken was disappointed he couldn't join us. I know so was Karen.
Yep.
So, but yeah, we'll have other chances for them to be on. And I am looking forward to we're finishing up this year, and so we'll start 2018. Excited to hear about the new stuff you've got in mind, and this will be fun.
Yep. So come on back in 2 weeks. We're going to talk about the 10th planet.
Yes.
And then after that, we will discuss Twice Upon a Time. So that's the schedule coming up. I hope everybody enjoys it. And we're going to be talking about that. And I hope you come on back, because I know we're going to have fun talking about it. So thanks again for 100 episodes, everybody. And
we will end with.
Please do.
There is always a way out if only we can find it.
Very nice.
All right.
And where's that from?
That is the Doctor, the Armageddon Factor.
Oh, very nice. Tom Baker's story.
And yes, and as we're always looking for a way out, things can get better. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, listeners. Take us out, Charles.
All right. 100 episodes. Bye, everybody. We'll see you next time right here on Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. Bye.